Odysseus-The Epic Myth of the Hero, Book 16. O Ithaca, dear land that gave me birth, sweet island of sharp rocky soil, much better suited to a quick-thinking goat for clamoring than a noble horse for running mindlessly all out, a cheering crowd in his ear. This life is a slip and catch much more than a flat-out open run. So Ithaca breeds men with sharp eyes, true hands, quick feet, archers, oar lovers, climbers, acrobats, knife throwers, and swimmers. I spent my youth in waters of the sea that bathed the rocky coves and bays of Ithaca, waters that could run blind as milk or seemed to be the juice that was the wettest, coolest part of sunlight, waters that gave no purchase for footing past your last kick, and most every day you could see all the way to the bottom. The argument that raged among us boys was which was larger, sea or sky. I always held the sea was more immense because it's closer. It's fitting somehow here I am again to settle this with one last clear regard. Before the age of 12, all I can recall is running, wrestling, swimming in the sunlit sea with cousins. That day I came in late from helping stack the nets. I saw first time the shadows cast between my mother and my father. They were in the sunset garden, staring with such tearful hatred for each other that I felt my house had caught on fire. I knew an ugly secret then had come to light, the thing that made for many silent nights to come. I left then like a thief with blood upon his knife and ran down to the cove along a stony path lit up by waning moonlight. The black night sea was dead flat calm, and all the lights of heaven hardly glittered on the surface. It was so still and deeply silver. The peaks of Kephallonia rose across the strait just 3 good spear throws off, and in between was tiny rocky Asteris lying low as would a shield upon the sea. I had a sudden thought that seemed a goddess whispering, that something hid itself upon the isle, for good, for ill, I could not tell. It set a challenge to my soul to swim and see, and on the shore with legs wet to the knees, my daring warred with what small prudence I possessed, until I dove ahead into the startling embrace of the living waters, and swam strong strokes to Asteris, the anchorage where pirates sometimes laid in wait. I searched this rock for something precious and long lost, but only gained a slicing wound upon my foot from stepping on a broken shard. I waited till the sun was nearly up before the bleeding stopped. With terror in my heart, my blood would draw a hungry monster. I swam the strait to Kephallonia, thinking maybe I would not go back again. The gentle current pushed me down the coast until it let me pull for shore inside a sheltering cove, and as the ruddy, swirling dawn then filled the sky, I laid me down upon a pebbled beach and gave myself to sleep. This was the first time that I had ever been off of Ithaca. A fisherman discovered me upon the beach and shook my arm and spoke these laughing words. "Are you some god, or just the little boy you seem? How did you come upon this place? Did pirates drop you here, or have you swum from Ithaca? And now I see your face more clearly in the light. You are the son of brave Laertes. Come, let me row you back across. My name might just as well be Anticharon, for I will ferry you back to your home, and not to hell." I bid this kindly fisherman to drop me at the cove that cuts the northern coast of Ithaca, called Porky's Bay, in honor of the old man of the sea. I stooped upon the white sand beach hard by a cave with double mouths, and picked a rock to throw in case I chanced upon stray dogs out on the trail that led uphill, past the olive roots all twisted deep in rocky clefts. The way to where strong Eumaeus kept my father's pigs ran by the treeless heights of Neriton. along a stream bed cracked in stone. I stopped at Arethusa's spring and drank black water there to quench my thirst, and then below the Raven's Rock and Hermes Hill I smelled the pig farm Eumaeus worked. I was his prince, but he was elder by a year. Lycomedes, the master of Taphian pirates, and the one who sold Eumaeus to my mother Anticlea, told this story of him. As every baby is that's up for sale, this pirate claimed that Eumaeus was a foundling prince, the son of Ctesias, the grandson of Ormenos, king of sea-girt Zariae, where girls do not conceal their breasts until they're wed. Now in this house Ormenos kept a slave named Cassiopeia as a wet nurse for his grandson. She was a dark-eyed wench from purple-rich Phoenicia, and when a trading ship from that far land pulled up on Zariae's long sandy beach, Cassiopeia gave herself in love to every member of the crew to win their aid in her escape. She stole the baby Eumaeus to pay her way on board and sailed away with them. But 7 days at sea the thieving wench took sick and died. So the master bid the crew to toss her body overboard. And soon afterwards these traders from Phoenicia were taken by Lycomedes and his pirates. My mother Anticlea took the baby off of their hands and raised Eumaeus as companion to my little sister Ctimene. He had a voice for song and fists like lumps of bronze. His mind was clear and open as the sea. If ever I was bold in boyish play or foolish dare, I knew he had my back. Eumaeus was a shame to fortunate circumstances, and was the final proof that slaves are made, not born. My little sister Ctimene rejoiced in his companionship, and often stamped her foot, insisting one day they would wed. Laertes laughed, but when her breasts began to bud, he sent strong Eumaeus from our house to tend our herd of pigs. I came upon him, stacking stone to build another pen. He turned away from work and made a happy greeting when he saw me. So tell me, angry boy, just how you came upon me here so far from where your father lives. Bedraggled as you are, it seems the sea has tossed you up like kelp ripped from its holdfast. I laughed and answered him in mocking words. On foot you cannot reach this rocky isle. I'm only just from swimming back from shaky Kephallonia, where rocks are always sliding down into the sea. I rode a wave path like King Poseidon, leaving dolphins in my wake. Eumaeus laughed as would a judge who caught a robber telling tales, and spoke these knowing words. Such lies may one day serve you well, Odysseus, but we had better get you back before your absence raises hue and cry among the ones who hold you dear to heart. This said, we walked the trail and turned at Raven's Rock for Hermes Hill, and saw up on the hill overlooking the bay the high-roofed house my father brave Laertes held. But coming down the path directly at us was Melanthius, who kept my father's goats. His hands were shovel-like, and from his mouth all words betrayed an underlying curse. His mind lurked deep in shadow, and if ever I fell short in boyish play or foolish dare, the first to laugh was brusque Melanthius. I yearned to beat this ugly piece of irony, but knew with shame I lacked the skill to punch him out. He was my elder by 2 years, and powerful from outdoor life. He loved an ancient man as father dear, who'd been the champion fighter of his prime among Achaeans, and taught Melanthius to kick and punch, trip and throw, lock and break, and always get the leverage. He stopped and stood at crossroads, barring our direction, speaking jeering words, and said, "Angry boy, your hair is red as is your father's." And then he laughed until my face went blood, for it seemed that he laughed at some deep secret that concerned Laertes. So I spoke these haughty words. I favor brave Laertes more than just the color of my hair. You hide some obscure insult in your braying, ass. Now, clench your fists and fight, or step aside and let your betters pass in peace. Laertes calls. This said, Melanthius then stood his ground and spoke his words through teeth clenched tight. I cannot fight the son of brave Laertes, king and law of Ithaca. One day you will yourself be king. It seems that fortune favors bastards now. To anger one who might be king might be to feel his wrath when power comes his way. For if we fought, you son of easy living, blood would fill your mouth and blacken both your eyes. My skill in fighting does not make a fool of me. And now you laid your staff upon the stony soil, strong Eumaeus, and spoke these words. Your mouth will wrap a rope around your neck one day, Melanthius. I only pray I'm there to see. You want to fight? I'll give you what you want. This has been coming for a good long while. Make sure you know next time you call a man a bastard to his face. Achaeans love a fighter best who causes fewest fights. Now bunch your fists. No biting, no gouging, no snapping fingers back. This said, you took your stance, strong Eumaeus, peering over your great upraised fists. Melanthius threw down his staff and spat into his hands. He smiled as if he really thought this would be easy work. My heart rejoiced for Eumaeus. Never once before, nor ever since, have I felt love for one mere man than as I felt for valiant Eumaeus, going out to fight on my behalf. I felt the very measure of a king and pride in owning all I saw. Now closed the mighty fighters, trading jabs to feel each other out. Melanthius had greater knowledge, so he landed blows on that account, but Eumaeus was the quicker, tougher, stronger, so he weathered all barrages, giving just as good as he received. Then Melanthius dropped to a knee and shot a takedown on the leg of Eumaeus. He came up with an ankle, throwing him upon his back. Melanthius controlled the leg of Eumaeus and tried to grind his heel into his groin. Quick Eumaeus drove his own free heel up into the chin of Melanthius and knocked him back a step. Now Eumaeus jumped to his feet, and once again the fighters traded flurries of fists in skillful combinations. And now the blood ran down the brows of both, and sweat poured in the cuts. Melanthius caught Eumaeus with a hook upon his cheek that snapped his head back and sent a spray of sweat flying off and knocked a tooth out of his mouth. The goat herder then dropped and shot a double-leg takedown. Eumaeus shot his right arm out to cross his face, but dread Melanthius had sunk it deep and trapped it tight. And now the goat herder lifted Eumaeus till his feet were off the ground. The only thing my friend could do was hammer at the back of his opponent's head with his free fist. Melanthius now struggled hard to work his foe up in the air until his cheek was hugged tight against the chest of Eumaeus. Blows raining down. Melanthius was the fist and Eumaeus was the maul, and Mother Earth the anvil then. And when he got the perfect leverage, Melanthius then slammed my dear friend down and fell full weight upon him, driving his head into his chest. My stomach turned, for it was plain that Eumaeus had landed on his head. But if this bothered him at all, he did not show it, and Melanthius then found his neck trapped in a triangle of arms and legs, and learned what trouble can come from being on top. Bold Eumaeus was on his back and on the verge of choking out Melanthius when the goat's best friend broke all the rules and bit inside thigh of Eumaeus to avoid defeat. Now both were up again upon their feet and trading jabs. More weary now, but showing great endurance, both started tying up their foemen's wrists and arms, fingers lacing round each other's necks, jockeying to gain a sudden leverage, fighting like men snapping branches across their knees. Melanthius slid his right knee up Eumaeus's chest and almost locked his jaw shut tight for good. Then Eumaeus kneed the flank of tiring Melanthius and pushed him back a step or so. They traded punches till sure Eumaeus closed and tied up with Melanthius again. He kneed hard at the groin and trapped Melanthius, only could scoot his ass back to stop the blow from landing square. He had to bend his torso forward, and so he bowed his head. Swift Eumaeus jerked his hands down to his soaring knee with the head of Melanthius caught in between. 2 teeth flew from his goading mouth. The fight was done. Victorious Eumaeus let him slip to earth, and there he lay upon his cheek, not stirring. I ran to Eumaeus and embraced him like a brother, but then I spoke these sudden words. Now tend to my father's goatherd, mighty Eumaeus, and I will help you in the deed. We bore Melanthius back to the pig farm, where we washed his wounds and laid him down a bed of branches covered by a pair of sheep's fleece. We threw a third upon him, and then to keep the weather off his back. And then I spoke these measured words. This fight was great, and fairly fought, or so I judge. Now shake, and treat each other with respect from this day forth. Remember, friends, we all belong to brave Laertes. This said, Melanthius took the offered hand of Eumaeus, and we left him there to sleep.